FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
I'm a political theorist, not an economist, and when I teach the theory of capitalism, it suggests that profit is the reward for risk. Whenever government is involved in these things...
That sounds like an economist.
Well, that starts there. You'll see it doesn't end there, however. And what seems to have happened recently is that whenever anyone talks about nationalizing the banks, people scream socialism. But the current administration seems to be wanting to socialize risk but keep profits private. And that seems to be the new capitalism in the United States, where the taxpayers take a lot of the risk, but the market continues to enjoy profit should there be any. And the real question, I think, is whether there are mechanisms that would allow, if taxpayers are going to take the risk, for them to enjoy all, not some of the profits, rather than a system in which you're trying to revive the markets on the taxpayers' back.
Understand your concern, but let me just be clear about this. To solve financial crises, governments have to be willing to take risk. Because the definition of financial crises is the markets are not willing to take risks that looks otherwise would be economic. Central fact is that governments have to be prepared to take risks the markets can't take for a temporary period of time in order to get a firmer foundation for repair. Of course, you want to do that in ways that doesn't have the government assuming all the losses in the system. And what makes these things hard to solve is because the world ultimately will want us to take more risk that we think is prudent for the taxpayer. And the programs we're designing or pursuing are very cognizant of the risk you said. And again, just think about the alternatives that most people advocate in this kind of context. The dominant alternatives to what we're proposing would have the government come in and purchase these assets on their own, hold them on the government's balance sheet, take all the risk in that choice. And this is a system that's much, much more complicated than what we went through in the 90s and what other major economies went through over the last couple decades. And because of the basic complexity of these products, scale of these institutions, that, in our judgment, would pose much, much greater risk to the government that taxpayers are assuming greater share of losses than is necessary or prudent and taking risks they cannot effectively manage.